Manchester United board meeting. What really happened at Carrington and what it means for January. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your trusted source for everything Manchester United. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel where we break down all the latest news, transfer rumours, and match analysis. We're here every single day bringing you the most reliable updates from Old Trafford, and today we've got something massive to discuss. The big news that has everyone talking. Something big just went down at Carrington. And when I say big, I mean the kind of meeting that could shape the future of Manchester United for the rest of the season and beyond. Reports are coming in that a major board meeting took place at the training ground, and it wasn't just any regular catch-up session. This was serious business. The meeting reportedly involved top club executives and our head coach Ruben Amorim himself. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about a board meeting? Well, this wasn't about discussing the canteen menu or the new gym equipment. This was all about January transfer plans and the current state of our beloved club. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt truly confident about a January transfer window at Manchester United? For many of us, it's been a while. But this meeting suggests that things might be different this time around. The club seems to be taking action, planning ahead, and most importantly, listening to what the manager wants. Why this meeting matters right now. Before we dive into the details of what happened behind those closed doors, let's talk about why this meeting is happening right now. Manchester United's season so far has been, well, let's call it a mixed bag. We've had some brilliant moments and some frustrating ones too. The current league position isn't where any of us want to be. Sitting in 14th place is simply not acceptable for a club of Manchester United's stature. Yes, we've had some good wins, like that recent 2-0 victory against Sunderland where our new keeper Sen Lamens made his debut and looked solid. But we've also had performances that left us scratching our heads. This inconsistency is exactly why Amorim and the board needed to sit down and have a proper conversation. The January transfer window is just around the corner, opening on January 1st and closing on February 2nd, 2026. That gives us a whole month to strengthen the squad, but only if we plan properly. And here's the thing, Amorim knows what he wants. The Portuguese manager has been watching this squad closely since he arrived, and has identified exactly where we need help. This meeting was his chance to lay it all out on the table and tell the board exactly what Manchester United needs to compete at the highest level. What happened inside that meeting room? So what actually went down in this meeting? According to sources close to the club, Amorim came prepared. And I mean really prepared. This wasn't just a casual chat over coffee. The manager reportedly delivered a detailed presentation to the board members. Think about that for a second. A detailed presentation. That means PowerPoint slides, statistics, video footage, tactical diagrams, the whole works. Amorim wasn't messing around. He wanted to make sure everyone in that room understood exactly what needs to happen in January. The presentation covered several key areas. First and foremost, Amorim outlined specific players he wants to bring into the club. These aren't just random names thrown out there. These are carefully selected targets who fit his tactical system and can make an immediate impact on the team. But it wasn't all about bringing players in. The meeting also addressed the elephant in the room, players who might need to leave. Now, this is always a sensitive topic for fans. We get attached to players, even when they're not performing. But sometimes, for the good of the squad, difficult decisions need to be made. Amorim reportedly discussed which players are fitting into his plans and which ones might not have a future at Old Trafford. This kind of honest conversation is exactly what we need. No more keeping players around just because of their reputation or their wages. If someone isn't contributing, it might be time to move on. The board members weren't just sitting there nodding along either. They asked questions, raised concerns, and had a proper discussion about the financial implications of these moves. Remember, Manchester United operates under financial fair play regulations just like every other club. We can't just throw money around without thinking about the consequences. The two key positions Amorim wants to strengthen. Let's get specific about what Amorim is looking for. According to the reports, two positions are at the top of his wish list: a defensive midfielder and an attacking player. Starting with the defensive midfield position, this has been a problem area for Manchester United for quite some time now. We need someone who can control the tempo of the game, break up opposition attacks, and provide a solid foundation for the rest of the team to build on. Why is this position so important? Think about it this way. When you watch the best teams in the world, they all have that one player sitting in front of the defense, dictating play and making everything tick. We're missing that consistency in that role right now. The defensive midfielder Amorim wants needs to be strong, intelligent, and capable of playing out from the back. They need to read the game well, position themselves correctly, and have the stamina to cover ground for 90 minutes. It's not an easy role to fill, but it's essential if we want to improve our defensive record and give our attackers more freedom. Now, let's talk about the attacking option. Amorim is concerned about depth and consistency in the final third. Yes, we have talented attackers, but do we have enough options? What happens when someone gets injured or hits a patch of poor form? The attacking player Amorim wants could be a winger, a striker, or even an attacking midfielder who can play multiple positions. Versatility is key here. The modern game requires players who can adapt to different situations and play in different roles depending on what the team needs. This attacking addition would also provide competition for places. Right now, some of our attacking players might feel too comfortable because they know they're going to play every week. Bringing in quality competition could light a fire under everyone and raise the overall level of performance. Squad balance, the bigger picture. But Amorim's presentation wasn't just about those two positions. He also talked about overall squad balance. This is where things get really interesting because it shows his thinking about the long-term health of the team, not just quick fixes. What does squad balance mean exactly? It means having the right mix of experienced players and young talents. It means having backup options in every position who are good enough to step in without the team's level dropping dramatically. It means having players who can play multiple positions to give the manager tactical flexibility. Right now, Manchester United's squad balance isn't quite right. We have too many players in some positions and not enough in others. We have some players on huge wages who aren't contributing enough on the pitch. We have some young talents who aren't getting enough game time to develop properly. Amorim reportedly spent time in the meeting discussing how to fix these imbalances. He talked about which young players he believes in and wants to keep around. He talked about which experienced players still have something to offer and which ones might be holding the team back. The board listened carefully to all of this. They know that getting the squad balance right is crucial for long-term success. You can't just keep adding players every transfer window without thinking about how they all fit together. That's how you end up with a bloated squad full of unhappy players who want to leave. Fitness levels and player conditioning. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough: fitness levels. According to reports from the meeting, this was actually a major topic of discussion. And honestly, it makes sense when you think about it. How many times this season have we seen Manchester United start games strongly only to fade in the second half? How many times have we conceded late goals because our players looked tired? How many injuries have we had that could have been prevented with better conditioning? Amorim reportedly raised concerns about the overall fitness levels of certain players. Now, this isn't about blaming anyone. Modern football is incredibly demanding. Players are expected to sprint, press, and cover huge distances every single game. If you're not in peak physical condition, you simply can't compete at the highest level. The discussion around fitness also touched on training methods. Amorim has his own ideas about how training should be structured. He has specific routines and protocols that he believes will get the best out of the players. The board needed to understand these methods and make sure all the necessary resources are available. This might sound like a minor detail, but it's actually hugely important. Think about Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp or Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. Those teams can press relentlessly for 90 minutes because their fitness levels are through the roof. If Manchester United wants to compete with those teams, we need to match their physical standards. The meeting also covered injury prevention strategies. Nobody wants to see key players spending months on the sidelines. By improving training methods, monitoring player workload, and having better medical protocols, the club can reduce the risk of injuries and keep the squad healthier throughout the season. What the board really thinks. Now let's talk about the board's perspective on all of this. According to sources, the club's hierarchy remains fully supportive of Amorim. That's good news. The last thing we need is another managerial change and another complete reset. But here's the thing: support doesn't mean blind faith. The board members reportedly made it clear that they want to see more results before the January window opens. And can you blame them? They're responsible for spending the club's money wisely. They need to see that Amorim's ideas are actually working on the pitch before they commit millions of pounds to his transfer targets. This creates an interesting dynamic. Amorim knows he needs results to get the backing he wants in January. But he also knows that getting those results might be difficult without the reinforcements he's asking for. It's a bit of a catch-22 situation. The board also discussed the financial side of things in detail. Manchester United might be one of the richest clubs in the world, but that doesn't mean we have unlimited money to spend. Every transfer needs to make financial sense as well as sporting sense. They talked about player wages, transfer fees, agent commissions, and all the other costs that come with signing new players. They also discussed potential income from selling players. If Manchester United can offload some of the deadwood in January, that frees up both wages and transfer funds for new signings. The financial fair play regulations were also part of the conversation. The board needs to make sure that any spending in January doesn't put the club at risk of breaking these rules. The last thing Manchester United needs is a points deduction or a transfer ban because of financial mismanagement. Recent performances, the good and the bad. To really understand why this meeting was necessary, we need to look at Manchester United's recent performances. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a mixed bag. Let's start with the positives. That 2-0 win against Sunderland was exactly the kind of performance we needed. Clean sheet, solid defensive display, and a debut for Sen Lamens that showed real promise. The young goalkeeper made some important saves and looked comfortable with the ball at his feet. It was encouraging to see a player step up when given the chance. We've also seen some exciting attacking play at times. When our forwards are clicking, they can be absolutely devastating. The movement, the passing, the creativity, it's all there. The problem is consistency. Why can we look brilliant one week and completely lost the next? Now for the not-so-good parts. The league position tells its own story. 14th place is simply unacceptable. We've dropped too many points against teams we should be beating. We've conceded too many soft goals. We've lacked intensity and desire in some matches. The defensive record has been particularly concerning. Yes, we kept a clean sheet against Sunderland, but overall this season, we've been too easy to score against. Teams know that if they can get at our defense, they've got a good chance of scoring. That needs to change, and it needs to change quickly. The midfield has also been an issue. We've struggled to control games from the middle of the park. Too often, opposition teams have been able to play through us too easily. This is exactly why Amorim wants that defensive midfielder. We need someone who can sit in front of the defense and provide protection. Up front, while we have quality, we lack depth. What happens if our main striker gets injured? What happens if our key winger is suspended? We need more options, and they need to be good options, not just bodies to fill out the squad. What this means for current players. So if all these changes are coming in January, what does that mean for the current squad? This is probably the question on every player's mind right now. For some players, this news will be motivating. They'll see it as a challenge to prove they deserve to stay at Manchester United. Competition for places is healthy. It keeps everyone sharp and focused. Players who might have been coasting will need to step up their game. For other players, this might be a wake-up call. If you're not in Amorim's plans, January could be your last chance to show what you can do. Or it might be time to start looking for a new club where you'll get more playing time. The youth players will be watching this situation closely too. If the club is planning to bring in new players, does that mean less opportunities for young talents coming through the academy? Or will Amorim balance new signings with promoting from within? These are important questions that will be answered in the coming weeks. The meeting also sends a message to the entire squad. Nobody's position is safe. If you're not performing, you could be replaced. That might sound harsh, but it's the reality of modern football at the highest level. Manchester United needs winners, players who show up every week and give everything for the shirt. The January transfer window, hope or hype? Now we come to the big question. Will this January transfer window actually deliver? We've been here before, haven't we? Big promises, exciting rumors, and then disappointment when deadline day comes and goes without the signings we needed. But there are reasons to be optimistic this time. First, Amorim has clearly done his homework. He knows exactly what he wants and has communicated that to the board in detail. That's very different from previous windows where it sometimes felt like we were just scrambling around for any available player. Second, the club seems to be taking this seriously. Having a board meeting specifically about January transfers shows that everyone is aligned and focused on making things happen. The decision-makers are involved from the start, not just at the last minute. Third, Manchester United's current league position adds urgency to the situation. The club can't afford to just drift through the rest of the season in mid-table obscurity. We need to push for European qualification at the very least, and that's going to require reinforcements. But let's also be realistic. The January transfer window is notoriously difficult. Clubs don't want to sell their best players halfway through the season. Prices are inflated. Players are sometimes reluctant to move during the season when they're settled at their current club. Manchester United will need to be smart, quick, and decisive. We can't afford to spend weeks negotiating for a player only to lose out to another club. We need to identify our targets early, make strong offers, and get deals done quickly. The sales side will be just as important as the purchases. Moving players out in January is even harder than bringing them in. Who wants to leave Manchester United voluntarily? Even players who aren't playing much might prefer to stay and collect their wages rather than move to a smaller club. What fans should watch for in the coming weeks? So what happens next? What should we as fans be keeping an eye on as we move toward January? First, watch the team's performances in the next few matches. If results improve and the team starts playing better football, that will give Amorim more credibility with the board. It will also make Manchester United a more attractive destination for potential signings. Players want to join clubs that are on an upward trajectory. Second, pay attention to the transfer rumours that start emerging. Not all rumours are created equal. Some are completely made up by journalists looking for clicks. But others have real substance behind them. When you see the same names being mentioned by multiple reliable sources, that's usually a sign that there's genuine interest. Third, watch for players being linked with moves away from Old Trafford. If certain names keep popping up in exit rumours, that could be a sign that the club is actively trying to move them on. This is often the first step before bringing in replacements. Fourth, keep an eye on Amorim's press conferences and interviews. Managers often drop hints about transfer plans without saying anything directly. Listen to how he talks about the squad, whether he mentions needing reinforcements, and how he responds to questions about specific positions. Fifth, watch the team's tactical setup in matches. Is Amorim experimenting with different formations? Is he trying players in new positions? These could be signs that he's thinking about how new signings would fit into the team. Finally, pay attention to what's happening with other clubs. If our rivals are strengthening in January while we stand still, that's a problem. Manchester United can't afford to fall further behind the top teams in the league. The bigger picture, Amorim's long-term vision. While January is important, it's also worth thinking about the bigger picture. Amorim isn't just thinking about the next few months. He has a long-term vision for Manchester United, and this January window is just one piece of that puzzle. What kind of team does Amorim want to build? Based on his previous work and the reports from this meeting, we can make some educated guesses. He wants a team that's organized, disciplined, and hard to break down defensively. He wants players who work hard, press intelligently, and understand their tactical responsibilities. But he also wants attacking flair and creativity. Football isn't just about defending well and being solid. Manchester United is a club with a proud tradition of attacking football and entertaining the fans. Amorim needs to balance defensive stability with attacking excitement. He also seems to value versatility. Players who can play multiple positions give the manager more options tactically. They make the squad stronger because one injury doesn't create a crisis. They also tend to be more intelligent players who understand the game better. Character and mentality are clearly important to Amorim too. He wants players who have the mental strength to handle the pressure of playing for Manchester United. He wants leaders on the pitch who can drive the team forward when things get tough. He wants winners who hate losing more than they love winning. This January window will tell us a lot about whether the board shares Amorim's vision. If they back him with the players he wants, it shows they believe in his project. If they don't, or if they compromise and bring in cheaper alternatives, it suggests they're not fully convinced yet. The financial reality check. Let's talk money for a minute because it matters. Manchester United might be rich, but we're not infinitely rich. The club has made some expensive mistakes in the transfer market over the years, and those mistakes have consequences. When you pay huge wages to players who don't perform, that money is essentially wasted. It could have been used to sign better players or invest in other areas of the club. Financial fair play regulations mean we can't just ignore these mistakes and keep spending. This is why selling players in January is so important. Every player we move on frees up wages that can be used for new signings. Even if we sell someone for less than we paid for them, it might still be worth it to get their wages off the books. The board will be doing complex calculations about all of this. How much can we spend? How much can we save by moving players out? What impact will this have on our financial fair play position? These aren't simple questions, and they require careful consideration. Amorim needs to understand this financial reality too. He might want 5 new players, but he'll probably need to be happy with 2 or 3. He might want to keep certain players, but if the club can get a good offer for them, they might need to be sold for financial reasons. This is where trust between the manager and the board becomes crucial. Amorim needs to trust that the board is doing everything possible to give him what he needs within the financial constraints. The board needs to trust that Amorim will work with whatever resources they can provide, learning from past mistakes. Manchester United's recent transfer history isn't great, let's be honest. We've spent huge amounts of money on players who didn't work out. We've sold players for cheap who went on to succeed elsewhere. We've made panic buys on deadline day that everyone could see were bad ideas. The club needs to learn from these mistakes. What went wrong? Why did certain signings fail? What can we do differently this time? One lesson is the importance of proper scouting and analysis. We can't just sign players based on their name or reputation. We need to do thorough research. How do they fit our tactical system? What's their injury record? What's their character like? Do they have the mentality to handle the pressure? Another lesson is about being decisive. Too many times, Manchester United has spent all summer chasing one player, failed to get them, and then had to scramble for alternatives at the last minute. We need backup options ready to go. We need to be willing to walk away from deals that don't make sense. We also need to get better at selling players. Other clubs manage to sell squad players for decent fees. Why can't we? Is it because we pay our players too much? Is it because we hold out for unrealistic prices? Is it because we wait too long to make decisions about who should leave? The January window is a chance to show that we've learned these lessons. If we can identify the right players, negotiate good deals, and get them signed quickly, it will show that the club is finally getting its transfer business right. What success looks like? Let's define what a successful January window would look like for Manchester United. It's not just about how many players we sign. Quality matters more than quantity. First, we need to bring in at least one defensive midfielder who can make an immediate impact. This player should start most games for the rest of the season and solve our midfield problems. If we sign a defensive midfielder who ends up sitting on the bench, that's not success. Second, we need attacking reinforcements who provide genuine quality and depth. Whether it's a winger, striker, or attacking midfielder, this player needs to either push for a starting spot or provide excellent backup when called upon. Third, we need to move on at least 2 or 3 players who aren't in Amorim's plans. This frees up wages, reduces squad bloat, and sends a message that underperformance won't be tolerated. We can't keep carrying passengers. Fourth, and this might be the most important point, we need to see immediate improvement in results after the window closes. The new signings need to integrate quickly and help the team climb up the table. If we sign players who need 6 months to adapt, that's not good enough given our current position. Success also means avoiding obvious mistakes. Don't overpay for players. Don't sign players who don't fit the system. Don't panic buy on deadline day just to make it look like we did something. Smart, strategic moves are what we need. Finally, success means ending the window with a squad that looks balanced and capable of achieving something this season. We should look at the team on February 3rd and feel more optimistic than we do right now. The pressure is on. Make no mistake, the pressure is on everyone involved here. Amorim needs results to justify the faith the board has shown in him. The board needs to make smart decisions to show the fans that they know what they're doing. The players need to perform to prove they deserve to stay at the club. For Amorim specifically, this January window could define his tenure at Manchester United. If he gets the players he wants and the team improves, he'll get more time and more backing in the summer. If the signings don't work out and results don't improve, questions will start being asked. The board is under pressure too. The fans are frustrated with the league position and the inconsistent performances. They want to see ambition and smart decision-making. If the board backs Amorim properly and shows they're serious about getting back to the top, that will buy them some goodwill. If they dither and delay, the criticism will only get louder. And let's not forget the players who are here right now. They're under pressure to prove they deserve to stay. Every training session, every match, every moment is being evaluated. Amorim is watching everything, taking notes, and making decisions about who fits his plans and who doesn't. This pressure can be a good thing. It focuses minds. It forces people to make decisions instead of just drifting along. Manchester United has drifted for too long. We need action, not more talk. The fan perspective. What about us fans? What should we be thinking and feeling about all this? It's complicated, isn't it? On one hand, it's encouraging to see the club being proactive. Having this meeting, making plans, and thinking seriously about January suggests that lessons might have been learned from past failures. We want to be optimistic. On the other hand, we've been here before. We've heard big promises about transfer windows that turned into disappointments. We've seen managers say they're getting backing only to end up frustrated and under-equipped. Can we really trust that this time will be different? My advice is to be cautiously optimistic. Watch what happens, not just what's said. Actions speak louder than words. If the club follows through on these plans and brings in quality players who make a difference, then we can start believing again. But don't get carried away with every rumor you see on social media. Most transfer rumors are completely made up. Wait for reliable sources to confirm things before getting too excited or too disappointed. Support the team through this period. The players need to feel our backing, especially as they try to improve results before January. A hostile atmosphere at Old Trafford won't help anyone. We need to create an environment where the team can thrive. At the same time, it's okay to demand better. Manchester United should not be 14th in the Premier League. That's not acceptable, and the club needs to know that fans expect improvement. There's a difference between supporting the team and accepting mediocrity. Looking ahead to January 1st. January 1st, 2026 is when the transfer window officially opens. That date is now circled on everyone's calendar at Manchester United. It represents hope, possibility, and the chance to turn this season around. Between now and then, so much can happen. Results could improve dramatically and make those signings less urgent. Or results could get worse and make them even more critical. Targets could emerge or disappear as other clubs make their moves. The club will be working behind the scenes throughout this period. They'll be talking to agents, watching players, negotiating with clubs, and preparing everything so they can move quickly when the window opens. The groundwork for January deals is being laid right now. Amorim will be using this time to continue evaluating his squad. He'll be giving players chances to prove themselves. He'll be experimenting with tactics and formations. He'll be gathering more information to refine his wish list if needed. The board will be monitoring everything closely. They'll be watching results, tracking finances, and making sure everything is in place to execute the January plans. They'll also be prepared to adjust if circumstances change. Final thoughts: a defining moment. This board meeting at Carrington could prove to be a defining moment for Manchester United's season. Not because of what was said, but because of what happens next. Words are cheap. Action is what counts. If Manchester United can back Amorim properly in January, bring in the right players, move on the deadwood, and see genuine improvement in results, then this meeting will be remembered as a turning point. It will be the moment when the club finally got serious about fixing its problems. If nothing much happens in January, or if the signings don't work out, then this meeting will just be another example of empty promises. It will be forgotten along with all the other times Manchester United talked about change without delivering it. The next few months are crucial. Every match matters. Every decision counts. Manchester United is at a crossroads, and the path we take will determine whether we can get back to competing for major honours or whether we continue to drift further from the top. As fans, all we can do is watch, hope, and support. We can't control what happens in boardrooms or on the training ground. But we can show up, make noise, and remind everyone connected with this club what Manchester United is supposed to stand for. We're not a mid-table team. We're not a club that settles for mediocrity. We're Manchester United, and we demand better. This January window is a chance to start delivering on that expectation. Stay connected with United Daily Updates. This is exactly the kind of story we'll be following every single day here at United Daily Updates. From the moment the transfer window opens until the moment it closes, we'll be bringing you every update, every rumour, and every bit of news about Manchester United. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. We'll be doing daily videos breaking down all the latest developments. We'll have special coverage on deadline day. We'll bring you reaction and analysis as signings happen. Hit that notification bell so you get alerted the moment we post new content. Transfer news can break at any time, and you want to be among the first to know. We're committed to being your most reliable source for everything Manchester United. Join our community in the comments section. Share your thoughts about what you want to see happen in January. Tell us which players you think we should sign. Debate the big decisions with fellow United fans. That's what makes this channel special. It's not just us talking at you, it's all of us talking together. Follow us on all our social media channels too. We post updates throughout the day, not just in our videos. If something breaks when we're between videos, you'll see it on our social media first. Thank you for being part of the United Daily Updates family. These are challenging times for Manchester United, but we'll get through them together. Keep the faith, stay passionate, and never stop believing that better days are coming. See you in the next update. And remember, no matter what happens, we're all united. Red forever.